All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me.
Well, welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast live stream. How you doing? We're on YouTube and we're double dueling on Rumble as usual. And we're seeing what happens and if anything gets caught up and if I get kicked off the air or anything like that. We've already said that the censors have no room in here. But on the other hand, you never know if you're going to say something that will offend someone else, and I imagine that I will be offending quite a few people today, so hang on, stand by. I'm sitting on a chair today. Usually I stand for the duration of the program, as I've done in radio for decades. I stand because eventually if you sit on your tush too long, it's not great. Okay, it's really not. So, but anyway, I had that live stream a couple Saturday nights ago when we were watching Antifa in Portland, and just checking it out, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. But I also wanted to mention the fact that we have been doing lots of different topics, and Antifa's been chief among them, primarily because I am a hometown Portland girl, and I've been following this story for years, since at least 2016, when my friend got beaten up not once but twice by Antifa, Mike Strickland, who was doing a live stream with me a week ago. And so it's an issue that is very close to my heart, and it's close to my heart because Mike's a cool guy, and he didn't deserve any of that crap they gave him, and he actually went to jail for pulling a gun on Antifa, not firing it, not having his finger on the trigger at all, nothing like that. Indeed, he was just trying to defend himself and try to back off at least 10 Antifa antagonists in 2016. You say, oh, Victoria, that didn't happen in 2016. Oh, yes, it did. And they've been around and they've been rioting and they've been doing conniving and violence and all sorts of things, an adjunct and offshoot of the anarchists that have been in Portland for a very long time. And they've gotten cover. They've gotten plenty of official cover from the groups that have been marching down the sidewalks in the streets of Portland for years, the Answer Coalition and all the anti-Semites in that, and all the rest of the groups that do Friday afternoon at 4 drum circles, okay? So this is all part and parcel, some of the same people, ELF, ALF, you name it, they're all there, and all of these people are repositories of all the knowledge of all the stupid insanity that has been done in the name of communism for all these decades in Portland, and I've seen quite a bit of it, so there you are. Now, lots to talk about. I just want to do one quick thing before we go to the cleanup of Antifa. That's right. Everybody's talking about, oh, it's a cleaned up. Woo! Antifa, that encampment, that disgusting horde-filled crapola, a place where people go to receive different kinds of diseases instead of mutual aid. So I will tell you about that, but it's all hype and it's all bunk to keep it clean, for the YouTube crowd. Okay. So it's the government shutdown. People are feeling the heat now because November 1, a lot of people who depend on the SNAP program, which is EBT, which is food stamps, which is government cheese, as Gavin Newsom calls it, and what we used to call it back in the old days. So, I don't know why he was mentioning it the other day, but there you are. I will tell you a little bit more about that later. However, I just wanted to let you know that there's a lot of stupidity going on with respect to the government shutdown. Not all the government shut down, but the people who keep the planes up in the sky safely as best they can, air traffic controllers, they are going without their paychecks starting like this week. And the people on the SNAP program, as I've mentioned, are going to go without some additional SNAP funds. If you have some in your SNAP fund, I happen to know somebody close to me who's got SNAP funds. Let's get this hair out of here. And so I'm very concerned about that person. So, of course, yes, I send money, for God's sake. Anyway. So let's see. Now, this is why I bring it up, because it's day 27 of the shutdown on the day we're recording this. And in addition to that, Day 27, but it is the 13th vote that the Senate took today in which no Democrats voted to end the government shutdown because they want to make sure everyone in the whole country, including people who are not legally here, receive benefits. And especially Obamacare, which is falling apart of its own devices. And so they are making sure that the people who are not legally allowed to vote are represented by these Democrats. Okay. All right. And now we know why. And of course, you knew why they're doing it. They're waiting till the pain starts, till, as one Republican put it, to characterize the Democrats' feeling about this whole shutdown, they won't stop until planes start falling from the sky.
That are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously.
Very seriously.
But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
So we've got this. This is the Democratic whip on the Democrats' side. So she's the one who's making sure that the votes aren't there to keep this going. And she goes, look, this is the best time for us to try to get what we want. We're going to try to out-Trump Trump and use this as leverage. And the leverage is why it's you. It's your airline safety and all that. And I'm not going to I don't want to be overwrought about this. These things will be solved. But we've got what they're trying to do is take down what the Congress already passed in the big, beautiful bill, as the Republicans call it. So, okay, here we go. She's going to say it one more time. I just want you to know what she said. She later walked it back and, I didn't mean that. What? Oh, wait, I got caught. Wait, you guys, I got caught. And yeah, she's right. They're using it as leverage, and they don't care who feels the pain.
Terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility.
They want to take the responsibility, and they take it. How do they take it?
Very seriously.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So this is what's going on, and so we will keep you updated on it. And it's just one of those ridiculous dramas. In fact, I would just like to say, the minute that this thing is done, they're going to have to come back and start with the appropriations process in order to fund the government for a little while longer. Who knows what's going to happen then? And there are 12 appropriations bills that are supposed to be done by what we perceive to be, we assume, are the grown-ups in Washington, D.C., whom we send to represent us because it's a representative republic. So here's where it's not a democracy. Sorry, folks, for those lefties watching today. I get to disappoint. So we send these people and we assume they're going to do the right thing, right? I mean, we do, but they don't. No. They play games. They make sure that their nests are feathered and all that stuff. And they get theirs, but you don't get yours. I've never seen somebody. Do you know that lady that what's her kisser anyway? Stand by, Catherine something or other. She's the whip. She made $500,000 in stock trades that redounded it to her benefit by $500,000. Like just recently, So homegirl doesn't need the food stamps, if you know what I mean. I realize that's a cheap shot of me. Of course, a lot of people who are rich who think that we got to help the people who are lesser than ourselves, lesser in money and things and stuff. I get that, and so it's a cheap shot. But I would just like to say to you that these people are supposed to be the adults in the room. And in fact, it takes somebody like me who's been watching these people for years, and I'm just kind of wondering, okay, here we go again. I'm so sick and tired of these temporary funding mechanisms. I'm so over it. Over it. I have, let's look at something else. Let's look at my story. This is my story. Convenient timing of Portland police takedown of another Antifa encampment is beyond cynical. Okay, a couple of things in the headline. It's not as pithy as I usually like to write them or whatever, but the bottom line here is that the timing of the Portland Antifa clearing and the encampment clearing is suspect because it just is. And the reason is because they've been waiting for this. They keep appealing the decisions. They keep losing, by the way. We went over the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision a couple shows back and gave you literally chapter and verse. How they keep arguing the same thing. Oh, Donald Trump, he cannot order federalize National Guardsmen. How dare he? Well, he's got every right in the world, you pinheads. And so the Ninth Circuit just reiterated this. And of course, you knock us over with a feather, me conservatives like me conservative. Well, we're shocked because the Ninth Circuit has just begun to change character thanks to Donald Trump naming people who have brains in their heads to this court. And so they do occasionally do something right. In this case, that, which put on pause the folks who say, "Hold your jets, Karen Emmergut, you nutball," in Oregon and Portland. Come on, you guys, you can't do this. And so anyway, so they appealed it to an en banc collection of all the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals people and about the issue of the National Guard. And so we're waiting to hear. Now, I say this because this is why it's happening. They don't want the National Guard there. No kidding. I know. I know that. Do you agree? But what they did to go forward with their plans to dupe the Ninth Circuit into believing that Portland police are fully capable of keeping Antifa in check in their no-go zone in southwest waterfront area of Portland. And that's right, it's a no-go zone. That means you don't go unless they say so. And that's what they've been doing. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let us first go here. Now, this is Katie Davis-Gort's vid for Turning Point, Post Millennial. And so they're cleaning it all up. Now, this is Antifa helping to clean up their own damn mess. And, of course, they never cleaned up all of it because the cop shop had to come in with a team of people with brooms and I hope some disinfectant. Do you ever see these places? I did video of it when I was there. And it was, but what was so funny? Amid the filth, there was really nice food that was catered and in boxes for these people who are, on the first shift of rioting, second shift of rioting, or maybe even a third shift. You never know. They might run 3 shifts. Don't know. At least 2 go. And a lot of them, they get fed and watered at the local safe house run by some very, very unhappy man who believes that there's no hope to be found in this world, especially in political parties. And I get that, but there's more hope than that, buddy. I hope you find yourself in better terms someday. Okay, so then we've got this guy, and Katie's back on the street. Thank goodness. She was gone for what appeared to me that she was gone. What do I know? So so they're taking down their own pop-up tents and they're doing some stuff, and it was out pouring down rain. It was just a hot mess. Okay, so then what they did was they made a show of it. The cops wanted to make sure that Antifa did not take over the street in front of ICE. Okay, that's actually in front of the school, but needless to say, they wanted to stop them from running the streets, and they were going to ultimately, that was earlier in the day, and they were going to clean up the encampment being operated by mutual aid people who receive funding from, I don't know, just people. I know, I just put out a GoFundMe and all of a sudden I had $10,000. Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know who gave it to me. It must be somebody really secret. And that person might be getting funded from a NGO of some sort that gets funded by the Soros Foundation or whoever. There's so many. Arabella is giving out millions of dollars to this thing. Okay. So, we've talked about the funding sources and we've gone through the rabbit trail of that. Okay. So, but they want to make sure, the Portland Police Bureau wants to make sure that you see what they did there. See, we're standing. They've got the Oregon State Patrol blocking the street for them, and the police are there as well.
You gotta get the fuck out of my city, Nick.
This is from Nick Sorter, who's been down there off and on. It gets amazing video. Good for him. He's just getting. Nick's the guy who found out that the Antifa was using the police to hide behind from ICE. I'd never seen that before. It's pretty amazing. So here's a team. They're coming in later. Swing low. There we go. And there they go. Bye-bye. So, the thing is everybody's going, oh, they did it, and she's gone. No, they're not. Stop. So that's ridiculous. Silly, silly, silly. Kokoba. They are not gone. They're still hanging around. That dude has the apartment like a half a block away, for crying out loud. What is it? Number 152? So, yeah, they're there. They're coming in and out. They're watching. They've got people who watch people who watch people. That's what they're doing there. But I will tell you that the lady who formed the initial part of the lawsuit against the city of Portland to require them to enforce their own doggone noise ordinances, she was there and she was like, woo, I might get a night's sleep tonight. We the people deserve sleep, she said. Yeah. Oh, yes. What a scam. We're getting comments. Isn't this wonderful? The new StreamYard thing. What a scam. So it appears the police are in bed with Antifa. Have I got this right? Oh, wait. So Jordan. Okay. I've got you covered on this because you saw all that. Oh, how wonderful it is. It's so incredible. Isn't it wonderful that they've cleaned up this place that has been off and on cleaned out in multiple times by the cops or the city. Okay. So this was nothing particularly new. It's just that they finally went, oh, wait, we're going to be in court. And they're going to tell us that they really need the National Guard in here. And so we need to show them that we're going to clean this up because it's a health hazard, because it's a no-go zone, because it's a place in which people cannot move freely about. Because it's only occupied and it's run by Antifa, much like gang. Have you ever seen The Wire? What a great show, but don't go on their corner. Don't go on their corner. And that's so it is with Antifa. And this is just another batch of thugs. But, and I've got another story I'll show you in a bit. They're changing their uniform. We talked about it on Thursday with Jonathan Cho, and I was sharing with you some of the B-roll of the video of going to the anarchist book fair. He went with Karlin Boroshenko and another gentleman whose name I cannot remember at the moment. But anyway, aces, just great stuff. So we talked about the change of uniform for Antifa. So we will share that a little bit. But here's what I want to tell you. They come and they go as they please. And the police, of course, have their back. Because, you'll see how. No, you just saw all this. Woo, we're getting rid of all this stuff. Woohoo! And now let's dream, shall we? Oh. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you. And now we're into the present, where the cops tell the Antifa militants that, hey, we're here and we're just doing this. Here, can you hear me? We're just doing this. So we get the National Guard not to come. Okay. Watch.
All right. You don't want to real quick. Hey, I'm the one who got stabbed in 2020. That's a good
We're gonna. That's our. This black gentleman here is one of our guests on Thursday.
We have a good reason why we actually need them. So that's why we're asking people to get out of the street. They could arrest you, but
okay. Let's just go here. Now, that's why we're asking you to get out of the street, because actually being in the street is really against the law. You can't take over a street. Oh yeah, we know. You guys have been doing it for years. We know about your armed checkpoint in North Portland years ago in 2021, I think it was. We know all about that. We know about you taking over in 2020. We know. You guys, don't worry about it. We'll be back on your side in no time. But we have to show the feds that we're really serious this time. You can't get in the street.
They could arrest you, but you're asking you guys voluntarily, let's just get on the sidewalks. Because if a car comes through and hits somebody, it's a better way for the government to say we need the feds.
And we do definitely need the facts. We definitely need the facts in here.
That's one of those.
It's giving you terrible orders.
Yeah, I can't.
Work with ICE.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that guy more. But those people are douchebags. But I will say that this dialogue officer on the back end here, we have more video of him, thankfully, from one of the wonderful YouTubers out there. And okay, so they're going, well, hey, you guys, we're doing this, and we're doing it because we're going to help you, help me, help you. Let's get your tents down. Let's pretend that we're really cleaning up this whole mess. That's a security feature. And let's make sure that we keep up the ruse, because that's what this is. Okay, so then we've got. Let me see here. Hold on. I've got that. I got Davis Court's thing, and then we have Nick Sorter's piece. And now I'm going to show you. She said, if she can find it very quickly, the video that was done earlier this month. Watch this.
Earlier that you don't know if this is actually Antifa. You can't say that this is Antifa, right?
Well, no one has stated that they're Antifa. Saying I am part of the movement.
Okay.
They're just people that are wearing an all black uniform with a black mask. So they may fit the profile of somebody, but without them telling us or we having further information for that.
Okay, this guy
start bumping people into categories of groups.
Yeah, we couldn't possibly bump people into categories with black bloc. We couldn't. We could not possibly profile Antifa when they're strapped and they are taking over a street. We could possibly do that. Here is the same guy, and this is probably the same day, same interview. And the reason I bring it up, I just want to make sure that you see this, because this is where he is talking about that. He's talking about Antifa running the street in front of a federal building. Okay, let's go.
Them to block the streets.
Yes.
So it's a delicate balance of people's First Amendment rights, and then allowing cars to move through. This is not a one-way situation. There are other ways to get people from McAdam off and on McAdam. So as of right now, we're not going to enact anything to prevent people from being in the roadway while they're practicing their First Amendment right. We are asking them to not be in the street if they can. That may change, but
when I've gone to do a riot or a takeover of a public street, I always say to myself, I really don't want to offend anyone with my activities. So I'm just hoping the police will let me do this. Of course, they don't do.
As of right now, they're allowed to take up the street space because they're practicing their First Amendment right to protest. We don't want to infringe on that right when there's not a major issue of cars coming to hit them. This is not a major roadway right here, and people can get around them easily.
Okay.
And they're also having their own workers to help guide traffic out of the way.
Okay. In the past, I know, in the 2020 riots, people were being arrested. Or maybe it was riots before that. But I know in the past there were, I think maybe after Trump was elected in 2016, I attended some events that were going on, in the downtown area. And it was a very hard line about if you step off of the sidewalk, you will be arrested. So has the policy changed or?
I don't know. So again, it's not like people couldn't get arrested for being in the street. We're just not going to arrest people for being in the street right now. If we're ever going to do that, we will make an announcement. Hey, we are going to make arrests for people who are in the street. Anyone that wants to leave the street can leave the street, and they won't be arrested.
Okay. Thank you, Officer Friendly. That's an old version of throwback to West Side Story. Here we go. Now, I want you to see this because this is around the same time, and this is the same officer. And there's a person who lives near this thing, the ICE headquarters and maybe one of those apartment buildings and all that stuff. Okay. And I was trying to get onto another street, the main street, which is McAdam Boulevard. So here we go. It is the same officer. Now, here's the man who just said, well, we're not really going to let in. It's really not a problem with being in the street right now, but it is against the law. Okay, yeah, it's against the law. Any more hand gestures I could accord to him. So here he is telling a woman in a car for which I thought streets were made that she may not drive.
No, thank you. Do not try to play that game with me right now. Man, do not play that game with me right now. You're not going to a crowd of people in this car. Back it up and take a left. If you go to this crowd of people, you will be arrested.
You will be arrested.
I'm telling you, if you go to this...
I just have to stop for just a moment, if you don't mind, to appreciate the fact that he's raised his voice and he's telling a normal person, I assume, that she may not do that, but he's doing it. He's yelling at her. Yeah, you're going to be arrested. It's a two-tier system of government, a two-tier system of justice. And it starts with the dialogue officer for the Portland Police Bureau. Outside the ICE building, a federal facility in which they allow, as a security risk, they allow people who hate ICE and want to do them harm to take over the streets. Well,
people, you will be arrested.
I'll take care of it. Get out of there. I'll take care of it. I'll do everything. Get off my hand. You're not going to be
there's that guy again. There's the other dialogue officer who just told Antifa, psst. Later, hey, we are going to clean this up. We're doing it so that the feds don't get upset, and then we can sell the idea to the Ninth Circuit en banc hearing that we're gonna clean this up. Trust us. The only time they get upset with somebody is when they're not Antifa doing. And by the way, in this cut over here, let me just go back to this dude.
Yes.
So it's a delicate balance of people's.
It's a delicate balance between blah blah blah.
And then,
First Amendment rights. That is nonsense. We've gone over it, chapter and verse, literally chapter and verse. The Portland Police Bureau and the city have the right, indeed the authority and responsibility to determine time, place, and manner for protest. Now, they have been doing this for months. Believe me, time, place, and manner has they've worn out their welcome. But furthermore, even if it had been one night, they could have said, oh, I'm sorry, you can't do this between the hours of 9 and 7 a.m., okay, 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. Do you realize a school has moved because of this? A Portland charter school has moved from this area. They blamed ICE. I don't know. The ICE isn't going to hurt them, but I'm thinking if they had blamed Antifa might have come back on them. The gang, like in The Wire. So this guy is wrong. Mr. Police Officers, they delicate balance. Yeah, well, it is only if you choose for it to be a delicate balance. These people have already worn out their welcome. LaDonna says, thank you, Victoria Taft. You're welcome. Jordan back here. How will ICE arrest the illegal criminal element? Do they go through the police with National Guard help? So in this video, it appears that the police are instructing Antifa, what a mess. Oh, absolutely. It's dysfunctional. It's absolutely dysfunctional. Thank you, whoever highlighted. I guess that was Alex. Thank you, Alex, for highlighting that deal. Here's the question. The other thing that cannot be done. That is not a First Amendment protected activity. Rioting is not First Amendment protected. Even protesting is, while it does fall under the First Amendment, of course, and I support First Amendment activity. But you can also say, as I mentioned before, time, place, and manner. Doesn't have to be at that time. Doesn't have to be in that manner, i.e. on the streets, which, by the way, in ordinance against the law. And then if you, for example, use incitement or you encourage violence on the street in your little cabal there, that's not protected. That's not First Amendment protected. So now here he is back here again. And he's talking to this woman driving a car who's trying to get wherever she wants to go. She probably figures, I'm going to see if I can get on the street and drive on to McAdam.
You're not going this way. If you're not going to listen to my orders, then it's your choice. I am giving you an order right now. Back this vehicle up. There's a public road, but right now there are people occupying it. A car does not supersede people.
Right now there are people. Why did you clear the freaking road for? How about that, Mr. Dialogue Officer? How about that? You could if you wanted to. It's a delicate balance. You could.
The federal government getting in the puncture out. Once we get this lady out of here. And you can't get this lady out of here. You're fucking incompetent.
Sorry about all the... Okay. So,
We'll deal with it. Thank you, sir.
now they're insisting that the counter protesters back up, and now the cop, now legitimate Portland police officer, the dialogue officers can't affect arrests. I know that because the Portland Police Bureau sent me a wonderful press release about how the dialogue officers are very valuable, and this is what they do. And by the way, they can arrest people. So why didn't they arrest Katie Davis Scott's assaulter when she had that woman dead to rights, who punched her with her flagpole, as they are wont to do, in her eye, affecting a black eye? Why did they not do that? Well, we didn't know. We didn't have, we didn't. They had video, actually. Katie had video. Everybody had video of this. He totally could have. They found out who she was. It's just unbelievable. It's these people they're neutered. They're eunuchs. This is the eunuch section of the Portland Police Bureau. Oh, well, we can't actually do anything, but we're really going to talk loudly. Now watch this. This woman eventually does back away, and she goes out the way the officers tell her, and then comes back later and does it. Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It is offensive. It's offensive to anybody who believes in justice. It's offensive to anybody who believes in blind justice, which I would like to think we all do live by. We'd like to live by those rules, but they don't in Portland. There's a real soft spot for Antifa, and I attribute it to a couple of things. One, half of those people probably work for the state or the city of Portland or OHSU or something like that. But I would say the second thing is the people who keep these shock troops for the left in ramen are the same people who give money to their campaigns. So these are people who are paid by the same people. So there's a friendship, a kindred relationship there. So I think those are two of the chief reasons. And I would also tell you that they really don't like Trump. They don't like anybody on the left or the right, I should say. So there's hatred, and there's actually hatred that is irrational against people with whom they do disagree. And this has been this way for a very, very long time. I used to have the city of Portland people. I used to have mayor on. I used to have, top, city council commissioners on my radio show all the time. And they weren't dumb. Okay. They weren't stupid. They had certain viewpoints. But we would mock them with regularity when they did something really, truly offensive that was out of the norm of regular American life. And this has gone so far beyond the norm of real American life and civic life that this is why I highlighted it. I mean, I'm not in Portland anymore, but I can't stop at a take three. Can't stop talking about this. Oh man. Yeah. There's a lot going on. Like last week on Thursday, we talked with Jonathan Cho, who's an independent reporter out of Seattle. He's been in Portland. He's been in Seattle. He's done some really creative as well as very important work for the Discovery Institute and also for TPUSA. And he went with a woman who has apparently done a lot of study on the left. And to her credit, she helped take them to Jonathan and another reporter I told you the name, I can't remember. Anyway, but she has now decided that Andy Ngo is someone to be reviled and we should just ignore him because she's the top dog now. And I think it's really sad because I think there's room for both actually. And so Karlin Boroshenko took a shot at Andy and said these words.
So mistake number one that Andy made this week, Andy refused to give me any credit for the Turning Point USA piece because he's a bitter, petty little gay man sitting in his flat in London, not doing any actual real work. Okay. So that's mistake number one that he fucking made. Mistake number two that he made is this happened this morning. So I had a really interesting.
I edited this so that I could just pretty much get all the Andy Ngo pot shots that she had done for a long period of time collected a little bit so that you would not have to go through the whole live stream. Obviously, I can't play that for you, but so she obviously has some issues with Andy.
Oh my gosh. This fucking head cold, man. This is like pissing me off.
Sorry about the potty talk.
Interesting conversation with someone today. I'm not going to say who it was, but I need you guys to trust me that this person is a very, very, very credible source. This person is someone who has worked with Andy Ngo. This person is someone who has done quite a bit. I had a conversation with this person today, and I was told, Karlin, people close to Andy Ngo are coming into my DMs to send me things to discredit you, to try to prevent me from working with you. And everyone.
Okay. So she goes on. And the reason I bring it up is because I would think that in the entire live stream I happened to view myself the other night, so I get brownie points for that. She didn't mention that Andy Ngo, and I think she'd know about this, that Andy Ngo has had death threats and almost died on the streets of Portland like twice from being beaten. And she made mention of the fact that he lives in London. He does. And he does also continue his work from there, and he hires people to do some of the street work that he used to do, and they don't know who they are. I'll let her talk a little bit more.
This is coming from is someone that works for Andy Ngo. And guess what? Who the primary person is? The primary person this is coming from is someone who actually does Andy Ngo's research for him. So Andy Ngo isn't even doing his own research. Andy Ngo isn't even doing his own journalism. Andy Ngo is effectively paying someone else to do his journalism for him. And that made this week, Andy.
I don't want to start it over, but okay, fair enough. She has a problem with that. But it would seem to me that somebody who is done as much in-depth Antifa investigating as she says she has would know.
You live in London, England now. Tell me the circumstances behind which you had to actually move there.
Sometimes people think I was being dramatic when I said I had to leave the US for safety reasons. I mean, they might not be aware that I nearly died. It took a very long time to get some improvements through various forms of therapies through the hospital. Leading up to the 2019 beating where they punched me repeatedly on the head and face so hard that I was bleeding out from this area under my eyes, bleeding out from my ears, and then bleeding in my brain, which I didn't know at the time. They threw all those drinks on me. And, these are the pictures that people see when they first Google. It's me covered in these drinks.
Okay. So you'd think that Carlin would mention that he'd been almost killed by Antifa. Not once, but twice. He says once. He had to go to the hospital in 2 cases.
That was 2019. 2020, I was undercover and embedded in these riots. And that's how I gathered the field research for most of the material from my book. 2021, I left the country for 6 months. And I thought, maybe it's time to go home. My parents are in Portland. Their health was not great. It was very difficult being away from them. So I went back to Portland and I thought, maybe I can do more reporting. At that point, I had received a lot of death threats. But for those who are in the public space and they're effective at what they do, particularly when they are good at exposing left-wing extremism, they do get a lot of threats. And at a certain point, it's easy to sort of just accept that as a new normal and not really quite register the severity of the threats.
So she has not registered the severity of the threats. I imagine I get threats. So, Portland Police Bureau blew him off. So, okay. Andy, he never got anybody arrested or anything. He's gone after them civilly. And I hope he just bankrupts every last damn one of them. And so, but I'm not besties with him. He keeps a distance, literally and figuratively. So it's not like I have a dog in the hunt, but I would say that he is a person who does serious work. And there's a reason, Carlin, that he hires people to do some of that work for him because he doesn't want to die.
I think that's what happened to me. So in May 2021, I was undercover again in Portland, in downtown. This was a 1-year riot that was organized as an anniversary event for what had happened the year prior. And the group was smaller, and I made a mistake of sticking around. And when the light turned green, they drove off. And you can see in
edited
the
for
video
brevity.
That,
oh gosh, look at that.
Me and they tackled me to the ground. In that, my weight plus the weight of the person on top of me just shredded the skin on my leg.
You probably broke a rib.
As I tried to get up, some other person ran
Then
up,
they beat him again.
black block, and just kept punching me until I fell to the ground.
And then they choked him out.
And that person held me in a chokehold really hard. And it was seconds in the video. It felt much longer in my mind. Maybe from lack of oxygen, I'm not sure. But that was my one near-death experience. And I was just thinking about my family and those I cared and loved. It was like flashing out, almost like almost how you would see it maybe in a film, like one person after another. And I was like, I'm so sorry that I let you down, that I go out this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I could hear like the rest of the Antifa mob catch up. They were running because I sprinted really fast, so they were catching up. I knew if I go unconscious and I'm unconscious on the ground there, that group will kill me. Because they were wanting my blood for months from all the reporting I did in 2020, all the mugshots I released, all the names, all the charges. They wanted me dead. I very narrowly escaped that. I left Portland immediately the next day on a flight and went from safe house to safe house to safe house until I could arrange where I would go next. And the death threats continued. Nobody was ever arrested over the assault I just described or the 2019 one.
Of course not. Zandy, no.
The death threats. And I couldn't stay in the U.S. anymore. I was on borrowed time.
Yeah. So that's why, Carlin, why he doesn't go do his own stuff, and he interprets all the things that he assigns people to go to places, and I imagine, and then takes their information and makes some sense out of it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I can well understand it's nice to do it yourself. I mean, obviously, but if he didn't almost twice get killed by Antifa, I can imagine he probably would be doing that. And but it seems to me, just to tie a bow on it, you would know that and not really castigate someone for their failure to do what you believe is required to follow Antifa, etc. And I hope it doesn't happen to you. I really hope it doesn't happen to you. So anyway, let us move on, because there's something else going on. I would like to say that it is disturbing. It has happened a couple of times in Washington State, and it is people who have been put on blast by the left who they're collecting signatures, for example. And they collect signatures, and then they are met with people who try to keep people from signing their petitions. It's illegal activity, but it is organized by let's be honest, union left. And it's so that's been going on in the Washington State. I've got examples of it, which I'll play in Thursday's episode. And I will do that so that you can well appreciate how just intense it is to have these people in your face, and then people who don't want to sign your petition because they're afraid they're going to get caught up in the drama or hurt. See, that's how it works. It's called intimidation. And the same thing happened to a group in California. These are people who were just doing sign waving and that sort of thing to oppose Prop 50. That's Gavin Newsom's attempt to completely reorganize the way in which the apportionment is done in the state of California so that they can scoop up a couple of additional Democrat seats, take a couple from Republicans, and change the Congress. It's not representative of California. I would say that's unconstitutional, but apparently that they can do it. So Mike Zhao is with the Chinese Americans for the Constitution on the harassment. And did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes. Yeah.
How are you? Thank you so much for coming on the Adult.
Thank you for having me, Victoria.
Thank you. What happened? Tell us what happened.
Yeah, basically on Sunday, at 3:30, three of our supporters, our group, our organization, were hanging waving the sign, no preposition 50 in the bridge. Basically, it's in the place called Carmel Mountain Road over I-15.
Mm-hmm.
And, suddenly Gavin Newsom supporter, stopped her car, parked in the middle of the way, and began to harass the three our supporters who were peacefully waving the sign. And then, they harassed a few times, and then so basically our supporter was retreating. But when she began to become aggressively, one of the supporters called the police. And then that lady stopped, but she on her way back, she yelling at our supporters.
Yeah, I'm playing it, but I'm going to turn it down so I can hear you talk over it. We'll do that. So
this lady yelled at our supporter, said, "Go back to China. Go back to China." That's very racist comments. So our supporter recorded the last part. So that's what happened.
That stings. I've been told to. Of course, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon and Washington, and spent much of my professional and adult life in California. Had a California license plate. Came back for the summer to visit relatives, and was told by someone, go back to California. And, I thought to myself, I feel a little bit of what that feels like when somebody tells you, go back to China, go back to Mexico, go back to wherever. It's rude. You don't know me. You have nothing to say about it. And I mean, what was the affiliation of this person? Who is this person?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet, but she is a supporter of Governor Newsom of California. One thing I want to point out, right? The Democrats, the left, always claim they're a party for immigrants, right?
Right.
But it's their support really, this kind of like racist comments. Actually, this reveal their true color, right?
Yeah.
They are really only the party of immigrants who really follow the Democratic Party rules. If we have different opinions, they do not have, want to include us. They want to, want us to go back to China. As a matter of fact, all support are American citizens. They have no right to ask us to go back to China. This is racist assault, harassment, intimidation against, our supporters.
So you're out there against Proposition 50. Tell me why.
Yeah, basically, actually, I'm the chair for this committee really against that. So there's a couple of reasons, right? Number one, many of Chinese Americans like myself, we suffered the communism rule in China. We knew, we really cherish the democracy and and also freedom in America. And Gavin Newsom's Proposition 50 is a betrayal of the democracy. Why? Because in 2008, California passed Proposition 11. Also in 2010, California passed Proposition 20, all giving the rights for congressional redistricting to the Independent Citizens Committee, not in the Democrats, right? This time they want to take away citizens' rights. That's number one. Number two, Asian Americans suffer the most from the radical policy of the Gavin Newsom. His policy soft on crime. Many Asians like myself were not very physically strong. When they have violence, have robberies, crimes, Asians suffer the most. They also had numerous times tried to reintroduce affirmative action, race-based college admission in California, use DEI to discriminate against Asians, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got here just in time for more discrimination against Asians.
Yeah.
Sorry to laugh.
And also, Asians pay a lot of tax, but you know what? A few years ago, California had a surplus. But because, Gavin Newsom gave away to the illegal immigrants, also, the people who do not want to work, today they run deficits, right? So we are tired of Gavin Newsom's radical policy, so we want to, stand up against him.
Yeah, I would. Now, tell me about your background. I recognize that you come from China. Are you from the CCP or where are you from?
Yeah, basically, yes. I grew up in communist China under Chinese dictator Tiananmen. During Cultural Revolution, my father suffered political persecution. He was tortured and he was publicly humiliated, also lost freedom for 5 years. But that political persecution did not stop at him. My grandparents they used to be landlords. They were deprived of the rights to continue living in Kunming, the capital city of Yunnan province, was sent to the countryside. There's no tap water, no electricity, no nearby clinic. A few months later, my grandma passed away. I grew up in extreme poverty. I tell you something. During that time, every urban citizen, everything was rationed. Every urban citizen only get 1 kilo, basically 2 pounds of meat for whole weeks. I had to wake up 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting the queue for many hours before we can buy some meat. That was socialism. That was communism. That kind of rule. So fortunately, in 1992, I was able to come to America as a poor foreign student with less than $200 in my pocket. I, achieved my American dream. In the last 10 years, I've been fighting, immobilizing Asian community, supporting students for fair admissions, lawsuits against Harvard. 2023, we won the victory. I went to the U.S. Congress, testify on behalf of the whole Asian community.
Wow. So you were part of the Harvard lawsuit. Did you write like a brief, like an amicus brief on that Supreme Court case?
Yes, we organized over 360 Asian communities or organizations. United that, and then filed a mixed brief. We organized demonstrations in front of the Supreme Court in Boston. We recruited students for Mr. Edward Bloom.
Look at you.
We mobilized whole Asian community supported that.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Well, one of the things, this is apropos of nothing probably, but I just remember seeing before the melee happened on January 6th, this is, like I said, this is just one of the things I noticed before. There were so many Asian people, so many Chinese people, so many people from the Far East who are American citizens on the streets cheering for Donald Trump. Obviously that didn't, that campaign didn't work out so well. But I just thought, this is just so cool that we have so many different kinds of people in the mix who support this particular president. It's very refreshing. But you've got to...
I want to tell your audience one more thing. Actually, in 2024, I co-founded the Asians Making America Great Again. We campaigned in swing states, help President Trump winning the Asian vote from 30% to 40%.
So you're that guy.
Many Chinese Americans, Vietnamese Americans, many of us, we suffered communist rules. So we really cherish the freedom here. So we are very that's something I wanted to
Well, there's no better American, I think, in some respects, who are more appreciative of the Constitution, especially, than people who have been, from China or Cuba, who have lived under the communist regime, who have seen with their own eyes what has happened, and come to this country and make it great again as well. So that's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. And thanks for coming on. And I hope that at some point you will come back and, just talk with me for a little while about your life. And I would love that.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Mike Zhao, who's Chinese Americans for the Constitution on the Adult in the Room podcast. Wow, that's awesome. A couple more things to close out the program. I'm going to give you a preview of what's happening on Thursday, primarily because I told you I would. I promised, and today I'm going to talk about this. And it is remember in September, a few weeks back, we were talking about the fact that the left has been doing the violence. And I went through, starting back in 2016 with Mike Strickland, and just boom, example after example after example. And one of the examples was a person who was stabbed by Antifa on the streets of Portland in 2020. And I was shocked at seeing the video. I remembered the incident, but I just never really ever put it on my list because I never saw the video of it or any additional follow-up on this particular story. Anyway, here is video. See this guy right here? So
I'm the one who got stabbed in 2020.
I'm the one who got stabbed in 2020 by you guys. And so I thought, who is that? I mean, I remember the case. I showed you the video. I told you about the case. And in fact, I didn't provide you with video of all of them because this was just one of those cases that was so ridiculous and was so offensive to me that someone would think they could just with impunity stab another human being based on politics. And the guy was a live streamer. Have you lost your minds, you nutballs? And of course, it wasn't too long after that Aaron J. Danielson was assassinated on the streets of Portland. I don't fall for it. I'm not falling for that banana in the tailpipe. Okay. Sorry, it's a throwback. Okay. So he's going to be on the program on Thursday. And he also is going to, I guess, be back in Portland. Now, remember when we talked to you on Thursday, we had Jonathan Zhao on, and Jonathan Zhao talked about the situation with, among these things were the hit list, for example, of all the people. And that's Karlin Boroshenko was on there, and Jonathan Zhao was on there. And there's the guy who actually helped them, in addition to the anarchist book fair, was on it. And it's a hit list. I mean, it's like, watch out for these people. And if you see them, you might want to do them some harm. I mean, that can be taken no other way. And of course, there was another one out at the place as well. At ICE headquarters, there was another list. Okay, so I would like to tell you that I wrote another story based on what Jonathan had told us last week, and it was the effort to change the uniform of Antifa from black bloc to keffiyeh cloth. They're now going to show up in keffiyeh cloth to further confuse the authorities. So that was this part of the story. I wrote one for PJ Media the other day, and it was part of the story that got the most, I would say, the most comments, and it got the most attention, because people are like, "What is going on here?" They look like Hamas terrorists. They are aspiring to look like the terrorists they are, the Hamas terrorists. And so I would put that to you as well. So that's it for today. Thursday, we are going to have the man of the hour, the Black conservative. We're also going to talk about the election in Virginia and in California on Tuesday, and what we can expect with respect to election integrity coming up for the 2026 midterm election cycle. Lots to talk about. We will, by that time, have the decision from the Ninth Circuit. Let's see if there's anything. I'm going to just look it up really fast. Ninth Circuit, Court of Appeals. No, that's not it. Nope. And nope. Now, they've got another decision today, but it doesn't affect the National Guard issue. Okay. They said that one judge in the federal court circuit, I don't even think, and it was a district court, it was a district court judge, said today, on Tuesday, that Donald Trump cannot fire people in his employ. It's just, I mean, how many of these decisions do we need anyway? So the lawfare continues, and in addition to the fact that this Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals approach to get en banc hearing of the National Guard question and to be able to keep an injunction going is lawfare as well. So anyway, until Thursday, we got a big show for you on Thursday, and I can't even imagine what else is going on. So we'll have it all for you on Thursday on the Adult in the Room podcast. Thanks very, very much for helping us out today. And for the people on YouTube, hey, welcome. Great to Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter, when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.